During his long and distinguished record of public service, the Honourable Ronald Arculli has been a member of the Legislative Council of Hong Kong and has served on major boards in the business and academic communities. Currently, Mr. Arculli is chairman of Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited and a non-official member of the Executive Council. He is also chairman and board director of the World Federation of Exchanges, in addition to being senior partner at King & Wood, Hong Kong, a key component of one of the largest law firms in mainland China. Mr. Arculli holds honorary degrees from the City University of Hong Kong and the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. He is currently a solicitor in England and Wales and in Hong Kong. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Mr. Ronald Arculli.
Thank you very much for those kind words. It's a real pleasure to be here on this rainy day to discuss a very interesting topic. But of course, to look at Hong Kong's future, a quick look at the past may also give us some insight as to where we might be going. I know most of you are probably very familiar with the amazing growth story that we have had in Hong Kong for the past 30 years or so, but just think about where we are located geographically, with mainland China, Japan, and South Korea to the north of us. To the south is Southeast Asia, comprising of fully and emerging developing economies like Singapore, and perhaps the next giants, Vietnam and Indonesia. And then, of course, to the west, there is India, the world's second largest population, with technology being very much in the forefront of their development. And when you look at where we are sitting, within 5 hours of flying, Hong Kong actually covers half the world's population. So throughout our history, this small but ambitious city has evolved and adapted to changing internal and indeed external conditions and grasping opportunities as they presented themselves. So let's look at some of our development in the past. Hong Kong, of course, is a very young city compared to cities in mainland China. We only have 150 years history. But our real opportunity, the first opportunity really came with the new China in 1949. And over the years, Hong Kong became a minor miracle in one of the world's leading manufacturing hubs, churning out garments, toys, and more. Indeed, we produced whatever the rest of the world wanted. But if you took a little fast forward to the new opportunities when mainland China opened up in 1979, through the policy decided by the then leader Deng Xiaoping, foreign direct investments became the watchword of the day for Hong Kong. And from 79 to 89, some $21 billion US was channeled into mainland China from Hong Kong. And even today, Hong Kong remains the largest investor in mainland China. I hope my numbers are correct, otherwise I'm sure Richard will correct me. Indeed, in 2010, we accounted for over 60% of the 105 billion US that was invested in mainland China, even showing an increase over the previous year. Now, whilst Hong Kong was concentrating a lot on the investment in China, we did not ignore ourselves. So we were really proceeding on twin track, particularly in the financial sector. Between the late 60s and early 70s, Hong Kong saw the formation of 3 new stock exchanges. So altogether, we had 4. And we also had a stock market crash in 1973 that took us quite a little while to recover. And the crash happened over about a year and a half, where our index, the Hang Seng Index, dropped some 90%, if not more. And eventually, these exchanges became incorporated into what we call the Unified Exchange and started operating in 1986. And it was that particular Unified Exchange that is the sort of forerunner to the Hong Kong exchanges and clearing today. And then, of course, we had our futures exchange following, as well as the clearing, etc., and all that. So, that set the stage for the 1980s. And indeed, the 80s was probably Hong Kong's most challenging decade. The uncertainty of our future regarding the question of sovereignty led to a rapid decline of the Hong Kong dollar, resulting in the government introducing a currency peg of Hong Kong dollar to the US dollar in 1983. But of course, that didn't stop. The discussions regarding our future continued and culminated in the joint declaration between our British rulers and mainland China in December 1984 as to the reversion of Hong Kong sovereignty to China on the 1st of July 1997. But of course, we hit another, no sooner was that done, we hit another large speed bump with the global stock market crash in October 1987. And indeed, much to our disappointment, we suffered another unforgettable and painful experience when our stock market closed for a few days in 1987. That resulted in a fundamental reform that brought about the Securities and Futures Commission in 1989. And as I said, the forerunner of the Hong Kong exchanges was the Unified Exchange. But in March 2000, the Futures Exchange, the clearinghouses, and the stock exchange all merged under one holding company called the Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing. And we, in fact, demutualized in June 2000 and became a listed company, a public company in Hong Kong. So a little perspective on the growth of the stock market. When the Hong Kong Exchange went public in June 2000, the total market capitalization of our stock market was about $4.9 trillion. By March 2006, it sort of doubled to 9.5 trillion. And by March this year, we are now sitting at around about 21 trillion Hong Kong dollars. So you can look at the growth. The stock exchange itself, when we went public in June 2000, was about 8.5 billion. In March 2006 was about 50 billion, and today is about 180 billion, making us, as it were, the most expensive or the largest stock exchange in the world. So, as I said, the joint declaration aside, the basic law, which is our mini constitution, wasn't actually promulgated until April 1990. And of course, between that time, the Basic Law Committee was formed, and a lot of Hong Kong people participated in that process. But the years of uncertainty during that period really occasionally took its toll. We had a substantial brain drain from 1980 really to through to 1990, in particular in 1988, 1989, when Tiananmen Square happened. That again was another blow to the confidence of the people in Hong Kong. That having been settled in terms of the basic law, Hong Kong then moved forward. So if you look at us from the from 1842 onwards, Hong Kong not only survived but went from strength to strength despite annexation, war, political turmoil, and these would be, in the 1960s, stock market crashes, in the 70s and 80s, brain drain, and the lead up to a change of sovereignty in 1997. But we've done this through gauging the political winds, deftly shifting gears, assessing new opportunities, and grasping them. Today, Hong Kong is even stronger than ever. Looking at the development of the exchange itself, we would like to think that the Hong Kong Exchange is one of the pillars of the financial center that Hong Kong is today. In terms of the ranking, I think in total market capitalization terms, we're about number 7 in the world. We have 10 of the world's largest 50 listed companies listed on the Hong Kong Exchange. And in the past 2 years, in 2009 and 2010, we have been #1 in IPO fundraising throughout the world. And gradually, it's not only the mainland enterprises that are listing here. We have been able to attract international companies, which was part of a conscious effort on our part that started in 2006, 2007. We also believe that, of course, for Hong Kong to maintain our edge, maintain the difference that we would have with any other mainland cities, would be to keep the international flavor that has been in Hong Kong for many years. And I think Professor Cohen referred to that a little while just now. So in terms of the situation today, I think not just Hong Kong, but Asia on the whole is in pretty good shape, despite the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And of course, part of it has to do with the economy in mainland China and indeed in the rest of Asia. But we had, of course, a recent setback as to what happened in Fukushima in Japan. And as you know, there seems to be some economic problems arising there. But we hope that that will sort of hopefully recover soon, but not easy. So looking ahead to the future, what do we have to look forward to? I believe that Hong Kong is well placed to capitalize on the growth of Asia as a whole, and China in particular. In terms of the development of the mainland economy and the connection between Hong Kong and mainland China, physical connection is as important as non-physical connection. And in terms of the former, we are building the express rail that would link us to the high-speed rail system in the whole country. And at some stage or other, in the not-too-distant future, you can actually go from Hong Kong to Beijing by train, I believe, in about 10 or 11 hours, and Shanghai in about 8 hours. And bearing in mind that you need 2 hours ahead of time to be at the airport, 8-hour journey by train doesn't sound so bad, particularly if you can actually get some sleep overnight. But I think if you look at what is in mainland China today, there's a lot of economists that believe that by 2020 or 2030, China's GDP would surpass that of the United States. I'm afraid I'm one of the ones that don't necessarily share in that particular projection. But that having been said, I think to achieve that level of GDP growth, from 5 trillion to 14 trillion. I think there needs to be some fairly drastic restructuring of the sort of Chinese economy. You cannot depend on exports to sustain that type of growth. So when you talk about the development of the domestic consumption market, when you talk about urbanization of 10 to 20 million per annum, when you talk about FDI, when you talk about liberalization and opening of the markets, that's where the opportunities are insofar as we're concerned. And of course, there is one other aspect that perhaps we don't pay enough attention to, and that is the other side of FDI, and that is ODI, outward direct investments from mainland enterprises, be it by way of resources or in financial services sector, or be it for food and agriculture and so on. So there is in fact quite good opportunities for us in Hong Kong and indeed the world to take advantage of China's needs over the next decade or so. And to try and do that, the recent policy announced last summer of the internationalization of the renminbi, of course, can be quite crucial to this whole exercise, because I think the leadership in mainland China obviously believes that for China to venture forth into the world, in an ideal situation, the utilization of the renminbi as a currency for trade settlement is pretty crucial. Otherwise, she will wind up with lots of US dollars and a situation that neither the US nor China or indeed the rest of the world would like to see. So I think we have a significant opportunity in terms of developing the renminbi as a trade currency, because we hope the next step from trade would be a currency for investments, and then ultimately a reserve currency. But I guess on a reserve currency basis, the journey is it should be a much longer journey. So with that, the Hong Kong Exchange, indeed, we try to do our bit with the launch of a renminbi product on the exchange. We had the first one being a real estate investment trust that's denominated in renminbi, and it in fact was a reasonably successful launch, pricing aside. But also, I think one aspect is that when the change was announced, a number of analysts compared the development of Hong Kong as the offshore renminbi trading center, comparable to the development of the euro-dollar in London quite a few years ago. And I think, as all of you would know, the euro-dollar market, i.e. the offshore US dollar market, is actually larger than the domestic US dollar market today. So there is, in fact, quite a lot to look forward to insofar as that particular exercise is concerned. In closing, I would like to remind you that Hong Kong is a very small piece of land encompassing several small islands in the South China Sea. But over the past 150 years, these small islands have developed into a global financial center, a leading asset management center, a tourism and services powerhouse. Our global influence far exceeds our geographical size. And how do we do this? And that's because of our people. The Hong Kong people have turned this small collection of fishing villages into a world-class city and speaks to their values. Despite various political and other developments, war and so on, Hong Kong people have retained and lived their values of accountability, hard work, and adaptability. They believe in a free press, fair judicial system, business ethics, and accountable government. They overcame changing internal and external conditions, learned to work with new systems, and even learned new languages. They built a world-class manufacturing center and then shifted gear when necessary to build a leading global financial center. They took what they had and turned it into something great. Today, Hong Kong people continue to live these values. With China's economic growth, we have turned our attention to how we can benefit from that and also contribute to the country's overall development. We can offer mainland China our sound financial system, our rule of law, our hardworking, sophisticated, and adaptable population. It is these same people who will grasp the upcoming opportunities that may come to us soon. As a city, Hong Kong is well positioned to grow even stronger as an international financial center, a bright light in Asia, and a wonderful place to work and live. I'm sure you would not want to miss this new and exciting challenge. Thank you very much.